Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there, Nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with an episode of the Golden Age, our series dedicated to Warhammer Fantasy Battle Reports for 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy. I am Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with Battle Report number 152. It is a 3,000 point battle that's fought between Lizardmen as well as Dogs of War. My friend Senior Chang will be playing the Lizards of Waaaghz, a 3,000 point Lizardmen army, while I'll be playing my Merigliano Mercenaries, my 3,000 point Dogs of War army. So for those of you guys who are tuning in for the very first time, if you're not sure what's going on, what's happening is that I have recently created a 3,000 point Dogs of War army for Warhammer Fantasy, and I'm taking this army through its paces by fighting in every army in our studio's collection. And today's fight is against Lizardmen, and as you can see, we have a beautiful tabletop with some excellent terrain made by our resident terrain wizard, Iron Major. So Senior Chang and I will be throwing it down in this battle report. So we'll see exactly how I fare against Lizardmen. So that being said, we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we're going to show you photos of both armies as well as our rosters. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for this battle report, you can pause and take a look at your leisure or check down the description box below for further details. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought, or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Balor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Assemble the army!
The scenario rules that we're using for this battle report is Battle Line. It is the most typical game of Warhammer Fantasy that we play on this channel with standard deployment as well as standard victory conditions. So that is the battle plan we'll be using on this one. So now that we're done talking about the scenarios, let's go ahead and talk about deployment real quick. So up first we have the Lizardmen, which is the Lizards of Waaaghz, and starting on the left flank, up deployed forward in the vanguard movement are the Charizards. Those are 3 Pterodon riders with Fire Leech Bolos riding on Pterodons, and right beneath on the left hand side are the Jurassic Jousters. They're a unit of 10 Cold One riders, musician and standard bearer. They also have shields, and they are also riding on Cold Ones as well. Next on the right hand side, that is a huge block of warriors called the Saurus. Is a unit of 40 Saurus warriors that are 8 wide and 5 deep with musician, standard bearer, as well as spears and shields, and that pretty much makes the deployment on the left flank for the Lizards of Waaaghz. In the center of the units, of course, we have the Guacamole Guards. It is a huge unit of 36 Temple Guards with full command. They have halberds, light armor, and shields, as well as a standard discipline, giving a +1 to their leadership. At the same time, though, normally they would not benefit from the leadership or the inspiring presence rule from the general, but their general is located in that unit as well. His name is Kermit the Slann. He is a Slann Mage Priest. He's also the general of this army. He's also the army's battle standard bearer as well. He's a level 4 wizard with the lore of high magic. He's got the Loremaster ability, so that way he can use all the entire spells from that lore list. He's also got the channeling staff to give him a bump to his channeling attempts. He's got focus and mystery as well as harmonic convergence, so that way he can get more power dice for his army. And then right next on the right hand side, that unit's called the Karma Chameleons. He's 24 skinks with full command. They have Lustrian javelins and shields. They have also poison attacks. They also have 3 Kroxigor equipped with great weapons in that unit as well, and they're led by 2 other characters. We have Snarl, who is a level 1 skink priest with the lore of beast with the amber spear and the cube of darkness, and Slag, another level 1 skink priest with the lore of heavens with a common of Cassandra as well as a Dispel Scroll. And that makes up the center for the Lizards of Waaaghz. And finally, on the right hand flank on the left hand side, that is Gato'Raad. He is a Saurus Oldblood with a shield. He's also packing the Sword of Might for +1 strength, Armor of Destiny for heavy armor and 4 ward save, and the Dawnstone to reroll a failed armor save. And he's riding Pow'Raad, a Carnosaur who's got Blood Roar as well as Loping Stride. That is a terrifying miniature to go up against. And then finally, right next on the right hand side, that is Squirtle on the total dial. It is a Troglodyte with a Skink Oracle Rider and Divining Rod. And that makes up the right hand flank for the Lizards of Waaaghz. So going across the table to my deployment area, on the far left-hand side, that is the Saints of Sartosa. Is my unit of 8 mercenary ogre man-eaters. They got standard bearer as well as bellower. They have heavy armor. The 4 front rank guys have 4 additional hand weapons, and the 4 back rank guys have great weapons, and they're deployed forward using their vanguard rule. Their other been there done that rule is stubborn. Up on the top of the bridge on the left-hand side, that is Agonia, my mercenary great cannon, and right next on the right-hand side, that is a unit called the Lucchini Rifles. It is a unit of 20 handgunners with standard bearer as well as musician. They have handguns and devices as well, and leading that unit is Hildegard von Königsmark. She is a hiring wizard, level 1 wizard from the Lore of Light, and that makes up my left-hand deployment on this battle report. Now onto my center, deployed forward using Vanguard rules are the Thugs of Debarra. Those are 5 Stratiotes with light crossbows as well as warhorses. And behind them on the left-hand side, that unit is called the Golden Company. It is a huge unit of 42 Paymasters bodyguards with Warden, Paymaster, as well as Musician. They have halberds as well as heavy armor and the standard discipline, giving them +1 to their leadership. And leading that unit are 3 characters. First of all is my General, Condottieri Patricio Il Torchio. He is a merchant prince. He's also the general of my army. He's got a brace of pistols and a shield. He's also packing the Ogre Blade, the Sword of Destiny, and Guido's Lucky Coin. He's got the forward march stratagem, as well as mounted on a Bard Warhorse. We also have Brunhilde von Königsmark. She's my level 4 hiring wizard lord of the Lore of Light, and she's also got a Staff of Fickle Fortune. And I also have Sheik Shabazz, who's my Paymaster. He's got a great weapon, heavy armor, and shield with a paid chest and bodyguards. He's got halberds as well as heavy armor for his bodyguards, and he's also packing Justintine's paid chest to give me a 3d6 for my leadership tests, and I take the best 2, so that part is also awesome as well. And then on the right hand side, those are the Vrezzo Gunners, a unit of 20 handgunners with standard bearer musician. They have handgun and devices as well the Bat of Eternal Flames, giving them flaming attacks with their shooting attacks. And leading that unit is Gretchen von Königsmark. She's a level 1 hiring wizard with the Lore of Light, and she also has a Dispel Scroll. And finally, making my right-hand flank. On the left-hand side, that unit is called Perazzo's Lost Legion. It is a regiment renowned led by a man named Perazzo. He's got hand weapons, crossbow, and heavy armor. He's also got standard bearer musician in that army as well, with 12 crossbowmen, 17 pikemen. The crossbowmen are armored crossbows and light armor, and the pikemen are armored pikes and light armor. And then right next on the right-hand side, that is Stasi, which is my mercenary revolt. And then on the far right-hand flank, that is a Nightmare Legion led by Ennio Mordini. He's got heavy armor as well as shield and scab scrap, the magical weapon. The champion's name is Renzo Avanti, who's got 2 hand weapons and heavy armor. And then we have 28 Mordini's Doomed Legionnaires. They have a musician, standard bearer. They have halberds as well as heavy armor and shields, and that makes up my far right-hand flank. So now that we have deployment over with, let's go and talk about battle plans. So let's talk about battle plans real quick. So as you can see, I am deployed on the far side of the table of my army, the Miragliano Mercenaries. My friend Senior Chang is deployed on the near side of the table. Pretty much, I have my work cut out for me. This Lizardman army is very hard to kill because the units are very few, and the few units they do have are very, very tough because of the number of fighters that we have. And we have 40 Saurus Warriors, 36 Temple Guard, we have 24 Skinks, we have monsters on the flank. So what I'm going to try to do, of course, is to take care of the monsters on the flank by taking care of the Saurus Cav over here, as well as taking care of the Carnosaur, as well as the Troglodon over this side as well. My plan is to hopefully I can tar pit them with my own flanking units over here with Mordini's Nightmare Legion, as well as Perazzo's Lost Legion, as well as my man-eaters. That way it frees me to open fire with my weapons directly into the main lines and try to whittle down these Lizardmen before they actually close a distance with me as well. Now normally I use the forward march stratagem for my general because that way all my infantry forces can move up 6 inches forward. But I decided I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to play defensively and make my opponent come to me just because I don't want to get killed in close combat. I want to whittle down these units before I actually engage them. And that's the battle plan on this one. So with the battle plan and deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both Senior Chang and I roll for initiative to see which of us will be going first. We'll be right back after this. So we're back to the top of turn number 1, and my friend Senior Chang managed to win the initiative on this one, so this is taken after the move phase. So let's talk about what ended up happening. So first of all, he declared a charge with his Saurus Cav, the Jurassic Jousters. Those guys rolled out of the box for their charges and smashed directly into the front of my Saints of Sartosa. So now my Man-Eaters and the Saurus Cav were actually engaged in close combat. For the rest of his army, though, he just marched them up as quickly as he could with the Saurus, as well as the Guacamole Guards, as well as the Karma Chameleons. Same thing with Gato'Raad and Pow'Raad, as well as Totodile and Squirtle. All those guys basically moved up as quick as they could, marching up quickly directly towards my main center lines, as well as my flanks as well. And over here on the flank as well, the Charizards also flew directly from the left side of the battlefield, making directly into the middle of the town. And it looks like he's going to try to attack my War Machine there on the left-hand side with Lagonia, which is my with my great cannon over there on the top as well. So because that move phase is over with that being said, we go directly to the magic phase. I'll be right back after this. So we're now back to the magic phase. Magic phase is actually quite short-lived for my friend Senior Chang. The first one he's able to do is use 6 dice, Comet of Cassandora. Magic get that spell off directly on the back over here with that little counter between the Lucini rifles as well as my Golden Company. So now I don't have to worry about that meteor going off. So that part's going to be kind of rough as well. He did try to cast the Amber Spear with Snarl directly towards Lastasi, but luckily for me, that I was able to dispel that with a Dispel Scroll. He got the booster version off too, so it bounced like a cannonball and absolutely destroyed it. So I was able to stop that from actually occurring. So now that we're done with the magic phase, we skipped the shooting phase because unfortunately for Senior Chang, he did try to fire his Fire Leech bullets directly into my Agonia, my Great Cannon, but unfortunately for him, though, he wasn't able to cause any wounds, and since these skinks marched, they can't shoot, so that pretty much ends the shooting phase for that one. So with that being said, we go directly to the combat phase between the Jurassic Jousters as well as the Saints of Sartosa. So we're now back with the combat phase. As you can see, it was an absolute slaughter for me against my opponent on this one, so that part was kind of nice. In the end, the Jurassic Jouster was able to kill one of my Man-Eaters. However, though, I was able to kill 6 of them, so that part was all kinds of epic. I won this combat by 3. Unfortunately for me, though, my opponent does have Cold-Blooded, so because of that, he doesn't have to worry about breaking too much. He made his leadership test no problem, so they will stand and continue fighting for the next turn. So that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for my army, the Mirigliano Mercenaries. We'll be right back after my move phase. So that takes us right to the bottom of turn number 2 for my army, the Mirigliano Mercenaries, my Dogs of War, and this is after the move phase. As you can see, not much of my army moved at all. I only had a few units move. First of all, I declare a charge with Mordini's Nightmare Legion, and I roll boxcars, so I'm going to move across the battlefield, smash directly into the flank of Squirtle on the total dial, so that way I can bog that monster down. At the same time, I also moved up my Thugs of Bar with an inch of Pow'Raad and Gato'Raad, so that way they can kind of interfere with his movement phase, so that way he can't go after my more soft unit choices as well. And that pretty much made him a movement phase. The rest of my army can either move or shoot, and since I want to do shooting, I don't really move at all. And that takes us directly to the magic phase afterwards. I didn't have a very successful magic phase because the Winds of Magic kind of petered out. I was able to get 5 spell dice. However, though, I used all 5 to remove a Comet of Cassandora, so that way it's off the tabletop, so I don't have to worry about that comet crashing down on me, which, of course, limits my magic options, but I didn't have very many dice anyway, so them's the breaks. So with the movement and magic phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. So we'll be right back after this. So we're now back after the shooting phase. As you can see, quite a bit of it actually did happen. First of all, if you notice up here at the top, the Charizards are no more. The reason why is because I allowed Gonya to open up a great shot directly into the Charizards. Rolled a perfect 10 when it came to the number of shots I got for that grape shot. Managed to kill all 3 of those guys, so that part was absolutely fantastic. From there, I then had the Lucini rifles open up directly into the Saurus. Unfortunately, I was able to kill 4 of those guys. There's 36 more of these guys left, so not much really happened there. And then from over here on the right-hand side, I decided to concentrate fire with the Verenzo Gunners, the Perazzo's Lost Legion, as well as Lastasi, my Revolt. They all opened fire directly into the Karmic Chameleons. I did manage to kill a bunch of these guys, but unfortunately, Lizardmen don't break because of Cold-Blooded, and since they're within range of their general, they're not going anywhere as well. However, the coolest thing that took place, though, was over here. Mordini decided to shriek forward with a Death Shriek from Death Metal, using Scab's Wrath Magic, put 4 wounds directly onto the total dial, so that part was absolutely fantastic as well. So that part was good. So with the shooting phase over with, we go directly to the combat phase between the Jurassic Jousters as well as the Saints of Sartosa. So now we're back with the combat phase. As you can see, the combat between the Jurassic Jousters as well as the Saints of Sartosa was an overwhelming victory. I was able to kill every single member of the Cold One Riders and managed to kill them all the last man. However, they did manage to kill another one of my Man-Eaters and put 2 floating wounds on another one, so that is pretty harsh. But at least I managed to get rid of those Jurassic Jousters, so not a problem. I do have the sneaky suspicion that my opponent's going to charge in the Thesaurus directly into my Man-Eaters, so I do have my work cut out for me there. On the right-hand side as well, combat was absolutely fantastic. I did manage to lose 7 of Mordini's Nightmare Legion from the combat with the Totodile as well as the Squirtle, but I was able to kill off that guy as well, and once I was able to kill him, I overran directly into the flank of Pow'Raad and Gato'Raad, bogging this guy down, which is entirely what my plan was to begin with in order to keep this guy from getting to my infantry units. So that part was absolutely fantastic as well. So with combat phase over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for my friend Senior Chang, and we'll go directly to his movements phase. We'll be right back after this. So now we're back with the top of turn number 2 from our friend Senior Chang and for his Lizardmen army, the Lizards of Waaaghz. And this is after the move phase. As you can see, he has once again going forward to try to assault. So first thing he did, he decided to do is declare a charge at the Saurus directly into Saints of Tartosis, so now I got this huge horde of Saurus warriors I got to contend with for my man-eaters, so that part went off. He then decided to declare a charge with his Karma Chameleons, going directly into the Renzo Gunners, but unfortunately for him though, he failed his charge, only going over 4 or 3 inches. Because of that, he doesn't go very far from there. So because of that, he decides to march up his Guacamole Guards, moving up their mad with movement allowance, so that way they can do a counter charge against me during the next turn as well. Meanwhile, over here, Gato'Raad, of course, is still bogged down with Nardini's Nightmare Legion, so they're not really going anywhere from there either. So, with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. We'll be right back after this. So that takes us directly to the combat phase, and as you can see over here, I managed to kill a bunch of the Saurus. Managed to kill 11 of those guys. I managed to put 6 wounds on me, killing 2 of my man-eaters, and putting a floating wound on another one as well. Now, luckily for me, I did win this combat, but because my opponent has more ranks than I, he is steadfast, so he rolls on his unmodified leadership, so of course the throwers are staying there. But that's perfectly fine because I'm having them bogged down, and my man-eaters are doing a good job of whittling them down as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Meanwhile, over here on the right-hand flank, the fight between Mordini's Nightmare Legion as well as Pow'Raad and Gato'Raad wasn't very good. My opponent totally kicked my butt on this one. Managed to kill 9 members of Mordini's Nightmare Legion was all said and done through combat resolution alone. I was able to, however, put a wound directly onto the Carnosaur as well onto the Saurus Oldblood, so that part was kind of neat. He did declare a challenge against Mordini's Nightmare Legion, but Renzo Avante, my champion, decided to answer the call. He got killed pretty easily, but that spared Mordini from being killed, because once he dies, this unit starts crumbling, so I do have to worry about that as well. But luckily enough, though, no harm, no foul there. I still have this guy bogged down, and that's all I care about. So that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 from my army, the Miragliano Mercenaries, and we'll be right back after their movement phase. So now we're back for the Tabano number 2 for my movement phase for my Miragliano Mercenaries, and as you can see, not much of my army actually moves up forward. My army is stand or move or shoot, so I decided to stand in my ground. I have no need to go forward. I try to whittle down my opponent, so there's no reason for me to move forward at all. However, though, I do charge in the Thugs of Dabar directly into the front of the Carnosaur, Pow'Raad, and Gato'Raad. I did pass my leadership in order to do that, so that way I get this guy in a pincer attack. I have no illusions that my Thugs of Dabar are dead, but this kind of divides up my opponent, makes me have to focus on multiple targets, and that's perfectly fine as well. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. We'll be right back after this. So now we're back for the music magic as well as the shooting phase. For magic phase, my magic phase is pretty much shut down. I kept on trying to cast Shim's Burning Gaze as well as Banishment off directly onto the Guacamole Guards, but my opponent saw exactly what I was doing, so he uses Cupid Darkness as well as a Dispel Scroll to stop those spells, as well as the Slann's impressive magical ability, so I wasn't able to do much of anything from there. However, during the shooting phase though, I did magic cause some chaos. First of all, I did have my Lucchini rifles open and fire directly onto the Guacamole Guards. I was able to kill 4 of those guys. I then fired my cannon, but unfortunately my cannon misfired 1, so it blew up, so I lost going yes, so that part was kind of sad as well. However, a couple of things happened over here in the right-hand flank that was really impressive. I concentrated fire with the Renzo Gunners, Praz's Lost Legion, as well as the Stasi, my Rebolts, directly onto the Karma Chameleons. I killed those guys down to about a quarter of what was left. So because of that, in order to stay on the ground, stay on the battlefield, my opponent had to roll Insane Courage. He failed his first roll. He then re-rolled it because he was close to his Battle Standard Bearer. Still failed to roll Insane Courage, so they fled back 9 inches, which is absolutely fantastic. And probably the best thing that ended up happening is that Mordini used Scab Scrap to Death Shriek directly onto Pow'Raad the Carnosaur. Managed to kill that guy off, so all that's left is Gato'Raad now. So yeah, he's an old blood, he's still kind of deadly, but I like my odds so far, so that part's kind of nice as well. So with the magic and shooting phases over with, we go right to the combat phase, and we'll be right back after this. So we're back for the combat phase. Unfortunately, on the left-hand flank, things did not go very well. I did manage to kill 6 of the Saurus, and they did manage to kill 2 of mine to put a floating with another one, but what that does to it, because I only have 2 guys left, that brings me down to a quarter of my normal strength, which means I have to pass with Insane Courage, which I did not do. However, though, I do flee because of that, so I roll an 8 for that one. My opponent rolls a 6, so he doesn't catch me, so because of that, I'm perfectly fine over here. So we'll come back to this side of the table after the aftermath. Meanwhile, over here, it was actually quite successful, even though I did kind of lose a little bit. So let's talk about that real quick. So first of all, of course, Gato'Raad challenges Mordini, so I decided Enzo Mordini, so I decided to accept the challenge as well. And since we both have the same initiative score, we both go simultaneous, and they both kill each other as well. He managed to put 2 wounds directly on Enzo Mordini, managed to kill him, but Mordini managed to put a killing blow with Scab Scrap directly onto Gato'Raad. He would try to roll this ward save, rolled a 1 because he does die, and same thing with my character, so mission accomplished. Unfortunately, I do have to take a crumble check though for my Nightmare Legion, I do lose 5 guys in the process of doing so, but this unit has well earned its points by killing a Carnosaur as well as an Oldblood on top of it, so I will take it. And that pretty much makes the combat phase on this part. So we'll come back right quick in the aftermath over here on the left-hand flank. So here we are back with the aftermath of the Saurus chasing down my Saints of Sartosa directly onto the elevated platforms. Now if you're wondering how we're treating these elevated platforms, we're just treating them like open terrain is what we're doing. We're not going to count them as fortifications or anything like that. We actually agreed to that at the beginning of the battle. We just did this because we thought it would look cool on the battlefield, so it's just purely eye candy is what it is. So just imagine that it's normal level ground, and that's pretty much how it's going at it. So those guys are about 2 inches away from my Saints of Sartosa, so that part is kind of cool as well. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 from our friend Senior Chang. We'll be right back after his move phase. So we're back now after the move phase for top of turn number 3 for my friend Senior Chang. And unfortunately for him, not much really happened all that well. First of all, he declares a charge with his Guacamole guards directly against my Golden Company, and he rolls Snake Eyes because the only thing he does is move up an inch forward, and so he's really out of position now. Open for a perfect counter charge with flanks directly into my front as well. At the same time, he does declare charge of the Saurus. They go directly off the table edge, chasing down the Saints of Sartosa, and manage to kill them to the last man. And then over here on the bottom here, he's got his Lizardmen running away. At this point in the game that my friend decides to kind of call at this point, he realizes he's not going to be having enough points left in order to cause enough damage for my guys, because my army is largely still intact while his has been shot to pieces. So he basically kind of calls at this point. So with that being said, that takes directly to the end of the game with a victory for the Dogs of War. So right back after this, because this game is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn from the next time we battle. This is after action report for Golden Age battle report number 152, and this ended up being a victory for yours truly. In the end, I was able to score 1,692 points from Senior Chang, and Senior Chang was able to score 959 points against from me. Senior Chang lost Gato'Raad and Pow'Raad, Snarl Slag, the Karma Chameleons, the Jurassic Jousters, the Charizards, and Squirtle and the Total Dial. Meanwhile, I lost Lagonia, the Nightmare Legion, as well as the Saints of Sartosa. So, finally started playing smart again with this army. Instead of actually vanguarding up forward with forward march, I decided to hang back and shoot against my enemy as well. And that's because I gotta remember what I used that stratagem for. I move up against shooting armies, so that way I can get close range, so I can shoot at them as well. And I stay back when I go against close combat oriented army like the Lizardmen. And magic in this battle was actually quite disappointing for this one. I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to win this battle. Typically speaking, when the magic are impressive, my friend Senior Chang would have dominated with his army, because Senior Chang couldn't dominate with his powerful magic spells this time around. So because I was kind of playing at a handicap for most of the fight. However, even though magic is one of his main offensive capabilities, his regiments are designed to endure, and that was a real pain whittling them down bit by bit to try to go after his core units. Those 3 huge units of Saurus Warriors, Temple Guard, and Skinks are really tough to kill, so luckily for me I was able to break the Skinks, which is kind of nice, and I did a pretty good job against the Saurus Warriors, but that Temple Guard unit though, I barely touched during this entire battle as well. And to be perfectly honest, Enzio Mordini and the Nightmare Legion were the MVPs in this game. That unit by themselves took out a Saurus Oldblood, was mounted on a Carnosaur, and a Troglodon all by themselves. Those guys are absolute killers. I'm going to get to use that guys more often to secure my flanks, because that really saved me this battle report as well. At the same time, my Saints of Sartosa, my unit of 8 man-eaters, really took it to the Saurus, as well as the Jurassic Jousters as well, so they did really well on this battle report too. Now granted, both those units got destroyed, but they also destroyed the flanking units that my opponent was trying to come at me with as well, which really helped me out in this battle, actually kind of won it for me as well. Now my army's current record right now is at 9 victories and 2 losses, so I still have about 4 more armies to get through. And even though this was a really cool fun game, it was an extremely fun game. I love playing as Senior Chang. He's kind of a new member to our gaming group. He's starting to learn his paces and how to play Warhammer Fantasy, and I expect he's going to get even better as time goes on. So because of that, I am looking forward to the rematch against my friend Senior Chang. So that's good to do for this week, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your input is always appreciated. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest hobby news related to this channel. That's good to do for this week, guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.